Morning has broken.
And we are your consecrated hosts.
Father Jeff, consecrated by holy orders.
Jonathan, consecrated by baptism.
Good morning.
Good morning. Why are you here?
Why am I here? It's a Monday. It's my day off, technically.
It is your day off.
Notice that I'm in my not clerics, but this is my summer uniform in the afternoons. When I come back after lunch, I usually take off the collar and put on one of my black polos and come here in the afternoons. But I didn't want to leave you hanging on the morning show all by yourself. And I didn't want you showing up at my house, more importantly.
Well, I had no problem showing up at your house.
I know these things. But I figured I would come in, had a few things to do and to get done this morning. I'm not going to stick around all day, but I figured it'd be good to be here for Monday.
For Monday.
For Monday, get things started. The first show after the 50th.
And the first show of June.
The first show of June. Can you believe it?
No.
I love June. June is such an awesome month. The weather is practically ideal. I mean, it's going to get a little hot, but I don't mind hot. I like it much better than cold.
Me too.
The summer is young, so there are all sorts of possibilities. School isn't looming, although that means something totally different these days. It's like, yeah, I'm kind of want to go back to school. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but there's just just June is sometimes not everything is overgrown and weeded over, and there's just, although we have had a lot of rain, so it is pretty close to that too.
Gosh.
But June is just, it's such a beautiful month. Love it.
Well, we started out with a nice day. It's going to get hot today.
This week, I think it's supposed to. Yeah, that's going to be starting up. But it's about, like I said, I kind of like summer.
And we had a cooler than usual May.
We did, and a wet. I thought it was wet. Maybe it wasn't. That's just my perspective. It was a little wet.
So, yeah.
But we're happy to have some sunshine. We're happy to have some warmer weather, and hopefully the clouds will go away.
Well, my whole clock internal calendar's thrown off because we are technically now in summer.
Well, not technically.
Well, technically for our summer schedule.
The unofficial
so school's
summer,
out,
yes.
so the some of the things that would normally happen here, like we're supposed to be having VBS this week.
This would have been Vacation Bible School week.
But the things that lead up to that happening just didn't happen.
Right.
And so it's like, well, we can't have summer yet.
What time is it? We don't know what's going on.
It's so...
It's kind of weird. It's kind of strange. So this is... But we are here.
We are here.
We're here to bring some regularity to your day.
Yes.
So June, since we're talking about June, the month of May is the month in honor of our Blessed Lady.
Yes.
And so everybody knows that. I think most people know that May is in honor of Mary, the Blessed Mother of God. We also know that October is the month of the Holy Rosary.
Correct.
June, the month of,
Mater Ecclesia.
No, that's today's feast. June is the month...
Oh, Sacred Heart.
June is the...
Sacred Heart of Jesus.
Yes, right. June is the month of the Sacred Heart.
I was trying to think too hard.
You were trying to think too hard.
No, I know Sacred Heart of Jesus.
Yeah, Sacred Heart of Jesus. It's the month of the Sacred Heart, month of the body of the Lord, and those two things are tightly woven together.
We do celebrate Corpus Christi later.
Yeah, both of those feasts, the Sacred Heart of Jesus and Corpus Christi, both fall within this month. And they're tightly woven because I think what we find, at least what the Eucharistic miracles have revealed, that in the body of Christ, in the Holy Eucharist, whenever those miracles have not only transubstantiated the bread, but transformed the bread into visible flesh and blood, what scientists have always found is that the flesh that has appeared there is from the heart of a human being. That the body of Christ and the heart of Christ are so closely related, the love of God. So I'm sure we'll talk as we get to those two feasts. We'll spend some time thinking about that, but just get that in your minds, people. This is the month in honor of the Sacred Heart, a month in focusing on what love is really about and the sacrificial nature of love and the love of God and how human beings respond to that love. So the month of the Sacred Heart, the body of Christ, stands in front of us.
And the month of Lowski.
Oh my gosh. Well, not so much a month. There's an octave. So this Wednesday, I know, it's amazing the way these things work. God works such miracles. There was this Wednesday, June 3rd, that's my 20th anniversary of ordination. And then 8 days later on the octave is the celebration of my nativity.
Celebration of your nativity. Wow.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, it is. That's why you love June.
June, well, not just that, but it is delightful. There are many nice things in June. Many nice things in June.
How did it feel growing up having a birthday in the summer?
I thought it was perfect. It's perfectly equidistant from Christmas. So there's no, issue there. It never gets interrupted by Easter or other, gift-giving holidays. You don't have to go to school on your birthday. So it's absolutely perfect.
Okay. I thought maybe you wouldn't like that you didn't get to spend it with your friends at school.
Friends. Who has those?
I guess that's...
No, a lot of schools, although I don't think that was a big thing when I was in school, the half birthday.
Right. I think they started doing that now.
Like if you had a summer birthday so that you could... Although I do remember always bringing treats to school, and I don't know when I did that. If you just picked a random day, or if we actually did have half birthdays, or if you did it in May sometime, I don't remember.
Okay.
But I do remember that. My favorite ones to bring, my mom would always she would take the ice cream cones and pour cake batter into them and then bake them and in the cone and then frost them and, make them look like ice cream cones. They would, bless you!
Whoa! Where did that come from?
I don't know. That just came out of nowhere. So they were all, it's probably these things I can smell. You can smell, there's, I think it's those berry
things. It's got
your allergies
I'm
all
tingling.
going.
Yeah. This is great.
Yeah, well, just... whatever. Don't breathe. Don't go this way. So, yes.
So is it the kind of flavorless ice cream cones?
Well, you could get the white ones, the pink ones, the chocolate, the multicolored ones. Fill them with cake batter, frost them, sprinkles, put a cherry on top.
That's cool.
They were cool. Everybody loved them. It's really a neat dessert.
Genevieve, get on it.
Go look this up. It's one of those things that you can do now to be all creative. Yeah. So that's June. You mentioned that today's feast is Mater Ecclesiae.
Yep, Ecclesiae. See, I even said it wrong. So
Mater Ecclesiae.
I had to practice because I'm not familiar with it because it apparently hasn't been around very long.
It's a fairly new feast. So I think I could be wrong, but I think last year was the first year, maybe 2 years ago, I don't know, that it was inscribed in the calendar. Pope Francis desired to make the first Monday after Pentecost the Feast of Mary, Mother of the Church. And that's what Mater Ecclesiae means, Mother of the Church. And it was a title, really, that was highlighted during the Second Vatican Council, that Mary, Mother of the Church, was something that the Council looked for, her guidance, her just going back to Pentecost, when she was mothering the apostles and waiting for the gift of the Spirit, that she continues to mother the Church and govern the Spirit of the Church. And so it is one of the titles that was very popular for Mary in the Second Vatican Council, and then because it's so closely related to her role in Pentecost, from the cross to when Jesus gives Mary as mother to John, he really gives her as mother to all of us, and then we now celebrate her on this first Monday after Pentecost, when she gathered with the apostles and the church was born. Church was born on Pentecost. And Mother of the Church. So today, the Feast of Mary, Mother of the Church.
Awesome. We just had Pentecost, which was great.
Yesterday. It was so windy. It was like the Spirit really was blowing all over this land.
I guess so. I was telling you, we brought out the slip and slide.
Yeah, so how did you... But since we're talking about Dies Domini, the Day of the Lord, how did you spend the Day of the Lord yesterday?
Yeah, so we went to Mass. We switched kids, or...
We switched kids. You're going to have to explain that. I don't know what that means.
So
there's this swap thing going on, so it's like we've been in quarantine so long, are tired of our kids, we're going to give them to someone else, and everyone rotate to the left.
Genevieve and I have gone to, I think now, 2 Masses together. No, she comes to daily Mass a couple times.
She does show up here at daily Mass, yeah.
But because of having to keep some of our kids at home, because they're a little bit...
Yeah, a little bit handsy.
We don't get to go to Mass
around
together. And so her sister-in-law, my sister-in-law,
right,
came over to watch the kids, our kids, so we could go to Mass together yesterday. And then we watched their kids so they could go to Mass together.
And I did see them at the following Mass. So
yeah, that's the first Mass they've been to.
They weren't just pulling your leg.
That's good. I was worried for a little bit.
I know. I used to teach that boy. Your brother-in-law. I know he's a troublemaker.
What did you say about him? That you cursed his...
I cursed his whole lineage. He was an obnoxious 8th grader. And he was one of those kids that could not sit still and loved any kind of attention that he could get. Positive, negative, and everything in between. And then, did I have him as a sophomore as well? I think maybe I did. And there was another student who kept a running tally or of all the crazy, outrageous things I would say to Nathan in class. And I believe that was one of him that I declared him and all of his lineage excommunicated.
Did you use the words progeny?
His progeny. Yeah, Nathan, you and your entire progeny are excommunicated. I don't think I have that authority, but he was a sophomore in high school. What did he know?
And look at him now.
Look at him now. He's actually a good kid, I think. He seems it. He seems it. Yeah. That's amazing. Small world. It's like, I remember when you said that he was your brother-in-law, where it was like, oh my gosh, I taught that guy. Back when he was a kid. And he's married and he's got kids? How did that happen? It's crazy how we all grow up and things, wow. So I want to thank you for all of the post-production work you did on the 50th episode extravaganza. I thoroughly enjoyed that episode. I thought you did a remarkable job bringing all of those clips together. Jackie had been spending many days just kind of having her phone on and taking clips, and then she went through all of the footage and pulled things out and gave it to Jonathan, and then you had to organize it, and then we determined how it was all going to come together.
Yep.
And then I went away.
Father Jeff said, okay, it'll be ready for tomorrow morning.
To be fair, I could have done that, and you would have had to confirm some people.
I'm down for it.
Okay. I'm not
anything to get me close to that chrism.
That's right. So, yeah, I know you spent hours and hours putting all that together, but it was delightful. So I hope you all enjoyed that.
If you haven't seen it, go back to watch it, because it's just a great stroll down memory lane.
Peek behind the scenes, stroll down memory lane.
And I think it's actually a pretty accurate representation of the day-to-day, where there's always some kind of drama, quote-unquote, something happening. I forget things.
Go on.
Father Jeff wondering where I am. That all just, it's pretty normal.
There's a lot of normalcy to not much of it is staged.
No.
Not much of that was staged. That was all kind of real. It was hilarious though, because I was talking to Deacon Dave Fishman this weekend, and he said, that he and Peggy were watching the 50th show, and she was like freaking out when I held up our little Morning Has Broken clipboard or snapboard or whatever the heck that's called. I don't know what that's called. This thing that when I was describing how this all works here, that we're in week 12 here, episode 51, and today is day 1 on Monday.
Question mark?
Because Peggy wanted to point out that, wait a minute, haven't we been just spending all this time going through Dies Domini and making the point that Sunday is the first day of the week and not Monday? So, yeah, Dies Domini Sunday is the first day of the week, so we're going to change that It's not the first day of the week. That is the first episode of the week.
Yes.
There are 5 episodes that we put forward out there in the world a week.
There's also questions, because in the 50th episode, you kept referencing Phyllis.
Phyllis.
Where Phyllis must have this, or
Phyllis
I got it
will
from
have this.
Phyllis's desk.
That's right. Phyllis is she is our part-time director of development here, and she kind of keeps tabs on all of the online kind of stewardship and giving and arranging building funds and all of those sorts of things. And she's got this closet in her office, and she's just like, whenever she's here, she'll just pull something out, and it's like, of course you had that. And it's like, here, look, I've got these truffles, I've got this chocolate candy, I've got this I don't know, old thing from back when the parish started, some artifacts or whatnot. So Phyllis has a lot of things going on. So yeah, whenever we're looking for something, what's Phyllis got in the cupboard in her office there? That is something.
It's a gold mine.
It's a gold mine. You never know what you're going to find. But I think before this day's episode runs out, we probably should return to Dies Domini.
Paragraph 15.
We are on paragraph 15 in Dies Domini, and as you recall, we're kind of working our way through the Day of the Lord and kind of how we enter into that. Now, paragraph 15 was one of those that you really liked, there's
just so much.
What jumps out to you in this paragraph? What is the main point that just struck you?
The biggest thing that struck me was, it's almost, and I'm going to paraphrase and we can dig a little bit deeper, but that Sunday, I'm just going to go through it, that God demands those times of explicit prayer just because we are His creation, and that's what we were made for.
Right.
And Sunday becomes a day of almost just a reset. They use the word interruption here. They use the word detachment or renewal. Mm-hmm. But it's almost just like, okay, your life gets hectic the 6 other days of the week. We need to reset. And this world makes us reset and say, okay, what is the priority? Who is the priority?
Right.
And I love, when I saw that, I was just like, that makes just so much sense. Because we get in such a role.
The hamster wheel. I was just going to say the rat race, the hamster wheel, whatever you want to call it.
And are we rolling this way? Are we rolling this way? Sometimes we lose sight of where we're rolling.
And we just keep going.
And we keep going.
You keep going from thing to thing to thing to thing.
And so that interruption, that reset, saying, oh, wait, it's all supposed to be about God. And everything's supposed to lead us that direction.
Yeah.
Are we doing that? If you don't stop to reflect like we've talked about, you don't really know.
Yeah. Let's pause. Let's stop. I think St. Paul talks about in one of his letters how even those who are running before maybe it's in the Office of Readings. I don't remember who said this, but if you're running and you have to take a momentary pause before you go in the other direction or before you head in any direction, that you have to stop. And there is the stop and then the starting up again. And I think that's the word you said before, that God demands explicit prayer, and that sounds almost harsh. But, it would be like saying, well, God demands that you eat and sleep
drink water.
Well, that sounds so harsh. How could He demand that? He demands it because it's for our life.
Right.
You have to eat, you have to drink, you have to sleep. So, yeah, it's demanded of us. Well, the same thing with prayer and God. It's demanded of us because it's for our good.
Right.
It's going to be good for us. So, because we often get tunnel vision, and I know for me, I really get tunnel vision. That sometimes I am so focused that I don't hear or see anything outside of that. And we need that interruption.
Right. Because sometimes having that tunnel vision isn't bad if you're working on a certain project, or even if it's in your faith, but you can't stay in that forever.
Right. You have to, can I see what else is going on?
Right.
Can I see how this is, what the effect of this is? And I love that concept of interruption. I took a course when I was in major seminary on church art and architecture. And it was fascinating to look at church architecture throughout the centuries and to just see some of the common denominators in classical architecture. So one of the things that our professor told us was that the idea of interruption is so critical in that kind of art, that the things that we use for church art and architecture should interrupt what we normally see. So, for example, a church building, that when you're looking across the skyscape or whatever, all of a sudden you see this steeple or these towers,
It's kind of like that old, if you have a record and it's a little scratch that...
Yeah, you're going along, and boom, there's this thing that breaks the horizon. I remember he was talking about the stained glass windows. How many times in churches you'll see they'll go this, and then a tall one, and then kind of like in a triangle form, things that do this. There is this upward movement. Even the plane of the altar, he said, is broken by the cross or by the chalice that sticks up, that there's something that catches your attention, that breaks the eye's movement and forces you to stop and consider for a moment. And so church art and architecture, church music, church design, all of these things should be nothing like what we find out in the world. I mean, they should be, but they shouldn't be.
Right.
They should be off just enough to make us say, wait a minute, I don't hear that on the radio, or I don't see that in the neighborhood, or I don't witness that in my living room or my dining room,
right.
That there's something there that causes an interruption.
Set apart.
Set apart. And that's what Sunday is supposed to do for the week. It's to kind of give you that...
Yeah. Well, we did take a step yesterday because it's been really difficult with this whole corona stuff, with the kids not being at regular mass. And so we have brought our son Joshua back.
He's the older of the three.
He's the oldest, and he's like, I don't want to be here. I don't want, he doesn't like it, and I think that's just a typical 5-year-old.
Yeah, it's boring.
The family that do the best with that are the ones that are able to go to mass every day, and that's just their way of life. But for him, he just didn't want to be there, and I told my wife, I said, Genevieve, I think the answer is we need to bring God into our house even more. We need to pray more and it more structured.
Yeah.
Because we do our prayers every day with them and ask them what
Sure.
they're thankful for, what they'd like to pray for, things like that. And we've tried to do rosaries and things like that before, but we really need to stick to something so that it is something that they know, okay, no, we need to stop what we're doing and devote time to God.
Right.
And it's just almost an interruption of the day. So same
The
type
interruption.
of thing. And so we did that yesterday, and it went well. We did just a decade of the rosary.
Sure.
But we had them count using their fingers, so they knew that
They're
it was
playing
limited.
along. Yeah.
They're playing along, and so
Yeah.
Well,
and I think
that's one of the things we were able to do this week.
As a teacher, I think too, a lot of times we forget that we may explain something or we expect something, but the concept of pre-teaching is so important. Like when we find ourselves frustrated later on by how the kids were behaving or how something happened or whatever, we have to ask ourselves, well, why am I frustrated? What were my expectations? And did I communicate those expectations? And did I teach those or teach whatever? And this is where I think something like a Montessori-style learning or Catechesis of the Good Shepherd is really cool, because the kids get to build an altar and dress the altar and have all of the dishes for the altar and vest the priest, and so that they get a hands-on experience of all that, so that when they go to the real thing, then they have an eye for those things.
Right, because they've already been a part of it.
Exactly.
Where they'll know some of the responses and everything at Mass, but they're still not a part of it.
Right.
They are there.
Right. And some of that is just going to be a natural, tension. But yeah, to find the ways to bring that in.
Yeah.
Good.
So, to summarize that last point, I thought it was beautiful. So it says, the interruption of the often oppressive rhythm of work expresses the dependence of man and the cosmos upon God.
I had that same line underlined
There
there.
you go.
Look at that.
The exact same.
The exact same. The interruption of the often oppressive rhythm of work expresses the dependence of man and the cosmos upon God. That work becomes oppressive when it is not rooted in God. We lose our focus when it's not rooted in God. So that's an important element.
And just the fact that it can highlight,
Lift it up.
highlight our dependence on God. That we are dependent on God.
And that's not a bad thing.
No.
These are good things. The tempter always wants to come in and say, oh, you shouldn't have to keep asking God for that, or you shouldn't have to keep coming back to God for that, or you need to start doing this on your own and being stronger or being whatever. And that's a temptation to say, oh yeah, I shouldn't rely on God.
No. We're supposed to be independent, strong and independent.
Absolutely.
But
not really.
Staples is completely dependent upon you. Our kids are dependent upon us.
We're completely dependent on society in many ways, and when society collapses, we freak out, as we've seen a little taste of in the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 16, paragraph 16. I like this idea. There's only one thing I want to pull out of here, is the commandment of the law is remember the Sabbath day in order to keep it holy. That's the commandment. Keep holy the Sabbath. Remember the Sabbath day in order to keep it holy. What does it mean to make something holy? It is a remembrance. Because the reason this is holy is because it's tied to something. What is it that it's tied to? I need to remember this. And in the Jewish tradition, the idea of remembrance is not just a mental act, but it really is a remembering so deeply that I participate in the present with that thing, that event that happened way back when. And that third commandment of the law was written for the Jewish people to remember the Exodus event. That your identity comes out of the Exodus. That you are a people who were enslaved, and then you were freed by the mighty hand of God. And if you forget that, you forget who you are. As Christians, that has been fulfilled in Jesus Christ. And we are called to remember that we were people enslaved to sin until Jesus Christ became our Passover and led us out of sin, and that has redefined our identity. We forget who we are if we forget the Paschal mystery, if we forget the crucifixion, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. We don't know who we are without those things.
No, that is who we are.
It is the fundamental reality of who we are.
And so, we've talked about, setting apart the day, interruption of work. Earlier you told me you washed your car on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. So this past weekend I got a little sun. We
talked all about me, which I love.
It's not just the lights today. It is, I was out. Yesterday. It was kind of a beautiful sunny day, and the wind was blowing, and I was just kind of sitting in the backyard reading, and I just felt that I had been sitting too long. And I'm like, I need to
Even though it was Sunday.
Even though it's Sunday, yeah. I didn't want to be lazy, and I didn't feel like exercising. So I decided, why don't I go water the plants on the front porch? And then I had the hose out. I'm thinking, I normally give my car a good thorough washing inside and out around Memorial Day, because it's, figure the weather now. We're not going to get any more snow, hopefully. I know. And so I said, yeah, it's a beautiful day, and I'm going to do that. That kind of being outdoors, being physically active, was not a chore for me. I thoroughly enjoyed bringing some order to the chaos that was in the car. And it wasn't that, I didn't have all sorts of wrappers.
I've seen his
things.
car. You would have probably thought it was clean before you
There was some gravel in the thing you had to vacuum out. Some dust. I haven't wiped the thing. Yeah, anyway.
You would have thought it was clean before he started. But
now the windows are Windexed, and you can see out of them, and the grime has been washed off the sides, and so I really enjoyed that. So people ask me all the time, Father, I'm not sure, I did laundry on Sunday, or I was mowing the lawn on Sunday, and is that a sin to do those things? And my answer to them is an it depends sort of thing. That what we do on Sunday, first of all, does it get in the way of my obligation to remember the passion, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ? Does it keep me from Sunday Mass? And does it keep me from the good works that flow from that? If I can say, nope, both of those things are in check, then the next question is, does this diminish the joy of the resurrection in any way, or does it magnify it? So if you love hopping on your lawnmower and zipping around and mowing the lawn, and if you love getting your hands dirty in the garden and working out there, if you absolutely enjoy that, then that is part of the Lord's day. You are glorifying God. Your mind can be uplifted in those things. If you hate laundry, then you should not do that on Sunday.
It's going to make you grumpy.
Because it's going to make you grumpy. It's going to make you... it's going to take away from that joy. When I was a teacher, I just made that rule. I've shared this before. I will not grade papers on a Sunday because I hated grading papers. The process of grading papers was awful. And so I would not grade papers on Sunday. Even if it meant I got them back a day later, that was a rule I had because it would completely decimate the joy of the Lord's Day.
I thought you would have tons of joy making all those red marks.
That's work. It's work. That's another story. Let's see, what else? This is the first week of June. Not much is going on. Vacation Bible School has been canceled for the summer, unfortunately, so that's not happening here this week. We do have a First Friday, First Saturday devotions coming up towards the end of the week, so we will have sign-ups for those to keep a holy hour for overnight adoration. And I think there's not really any announcements today or anything. No. So I'm going to just kind of wrap up a few things here in the office and then get back to a day off.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming in and
Jonathan, anytime.
Sharing your presence with us.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Enjoy the beginning of June.
June!